The championship games for the NFC and AFC are only days away, so that means we only have 3 more games left of this NFL season. But just because the season is coming to an end very shortly doesn't mean we still can't make some money. So let's go ahead and talk about the best props and bets for the AFC and NFC championship games. So the first person we're going to talk about is Jared Stidham. And I think we're going to actually see a lot of Jarrett Stidham in this game. When he has played and actually gotten on the field, we have seen him pass the ball a lot. And frankly, I don't think this Denver Broncos running game is going to be good enough to run the ball on this Patriots defensive line. So, that being said, I think we're going to see a lot of passing from Jarrett Stidham. So, I'm going to take his over on 32.5 pass attempts. So, next up, we need to talk about Kayshon Boutte versus Pat Surtain. So Pat Surtain is a shadow corner, but what we do not see him do is go into the slot. Stephon Diggs has some of the most slot reps out of any of these Patriots wide receivers, so I don't think we're going to see Surtain on Diggs. I think we're going to say Jaquan McMillan on Diggs. Jaquan McMillan is one of the best slot corners in the league, so I'm not really going to be touching any of Stephon Diggs' lines. However, I am going to be talking about Kayshon Boutte. So I do think we're going to see a lot of him match up against Pat Surtain. And because Pat Surtain is one of the best cornerbacks in the entire league, obviously, I do think we're going to have a very quiet game from Kayshon Boutte. I do like him. I do think he is a talented wide receiver, but I don't know if he's going to be good enough to go against one of the best corners in the league at his home stadium and succeed. So that being said, I'm actually going to go under 4.5 targets for Kayshon Boutte. So we know Jaquan McMillan and Pat Surtain are 2 of the best coverage corners in the league, but Alex Singleton and Talanoa Hufanga are liabilities in coverage. So I do think we're going to see a lot of Demario Douglas and, more importantly, Hunter Henry. I think both of them are going to have productive games. Demario Douglas, his line is only at 13.5 receiving yards. As we saw in the game versus Houston, he could easily take that over in just one play only. And then Hunter Henry matchup versus Alex Singleton, while he is not quite as dynamic as like Dalton Kincaid and we saw in the Bills-Broncos game, Drake May still really trust him. I do think this defensive line for the Broncos is going to be able to get after Drake May. So I do think we're going to see a lot of quick hitting offense. So I do think that's going to end up going to Hunter Henry, who is Drake May's safety blanket. And my other favorite bets for this game don't actually have lines yet, but if they do come out, keep an eye out. It's going to be Marvin Mims and RJ Harvey to go over their reception totals. I think this offense is going to have to get creative, and Sean Payton has done an excellent job of doing that this season. So I would not be surprised if we get a lot of screens, trick plays, just a lot of short designed work for both of these guys. So depending on what their lines are, if it's 1.5, 2.5, I'm definitely taking the overs for both of them. So now if we talk about the entire game as a whole, unfortunately for the Broncos, I do think Jarrett Stidham is going to be a step back from what they're going to get from Bo Nix. However, what we saw from the New England Patriots offense versus the Texans defense is not very inspiring. So I do think the Denver Broncos defense is actually going to be able to keep them in this game. However, I do think they're just not going to have the offensive firepower with Jarrett Stidham to actually go on and win this game. But I do think it's going to be pretty competitive. I have a score prediction of the New England Patriots winning 20-17. I do think this is going to be a close game, so I'm really betting Denver to cover about 4.5, 5-point spread. It's kind of fluctuating a little bit, but I'm really confident that they are going to cover. More importantly, though, I really like this under at 42.5. I think you have 2 offenses that are going to struggle. I think you have 2 excellent defenses. And the weather in this game is looking like it's going to be very cold. So I think we're going to have a gross, stale, defensive matchup between these 2 teams. But ultimately, we're going to have the New England Patriots and Drake May heading to the Super Bowl. Now, the more exciting game that we get to talk about is going to be the Los Angeles Rams heading on to play the Seattle Seahawks for the 3rd time this season. So the first player we are going to talk about is going to be Kenneth Walker. He exploded versus the San Francisco 49ers, went for over 100 yards, had a couple of touchdowns, great performance. And Zach Charbonnet has torn his ACL, so now it's going to be Kenneth Walker alone in the backfield. So that should be a good thing, right? Well, no. The first thing we need to realize is San Francisco's run defense is putrid. They are ranked by PFF as the worst rush defense, and they're bottom 10 in rush or DVOA. So I do think that Kenneth Walker had a great matchup versus the 49ers. The Rams are one of the best rush defenses in the entire NFL. So I think this Kenneth Walker 86.5 rush yards line is a huge trap, and I think the Rams are going to be able to slow him down. I also think the Seahawks passing attack is going to struggle, largely because I think Sam Darnold has struggled down the stretch. For the first half of the season, he only had 5 turnover worthy plays, and in the last half, he had 14. So I think his level of play has underratedly became very, very poor. I mean, he is the quarterback on the 1C that no one thought this team was going to be this good, and he's not in MVP conversations. I think that kind of tells you some of the struggles that Sam Darnold has had, where even the media and some of the betting organizations aren't really backing him to even be in the MVP conversation. So I do think he's going to struggle. So I'm going to take his under 236.5 passing yards. And with that being said, I then also think JSN is going to have a quieter game as well, taking his under 90.5 receiving yards. I'm less secure on the JSN one. I will admit he's been absolutely excellent this year, but I think it's more so Darnold's struggles is my concern as opposed to JSN being bad or overrated. And then the final leg I want to talk about is Matthew Stafford over 1.5 passing touchdowns. He is the MVP frontrunner for a reason. He has been excellent all season long, and this offense is going to funnel through him. Additionally, Seattle has only allowed 5 rushing touchdowns on the entire season. They've allowed 20 passing touchdowns, so it's clear if you're going to score, you're going to have to do it through the air. And luckily, as I said, this offense run through Matthew Stafford. He has hit over 2 touchdowns every single game except for 3 of them on the entire season. So to me, this feels like a no-brainer. Now, if you could not tell based off my prop selections, I am super high on the Los Angeles Rams. So I'm going to have them go into Seattle and beat the Rams 25-22. Ultimately, I just think that the Seahawks have been slightly overrated via an easy schedule, and Sam Darnold as not playing at a Super Bowl caliber for your quarterback position, where I think Matthew Stafford is. So with that being said, I think we're going to have a Matthew Stafford and Los Angeles Rams versus Drake May and New England Patriots Super Bowl. So those, I believe, are the best props for the NFC and AFC Championship games. Go ahead, drop a comment down below which picks you like, which picks you hate, and most importantly, what picks are you going to be betting on this weekend?